Let's talk about 5 habits that keep you from building a business, a successful business, a business of your dreams. In other words, these 5 habits are keeping you poor. The reason I'm talking about this is because almost everybody wants to build a business. But the problem is most people have these 5 bad habits that are keeping them from doing that. And so I want to share these with you so that you can start thinking about this and analyzing whether you're doing any of these things in your life that are preventing you from achieving that dream of the business that you want. All right, so here's the first one. Believing that you are too busy. So over the last week and a half, I talked to 48 different people, every one of who wants to start a business. And over and over and over again, I heard, I can't do that. I'm too busy. And the thing I've realized is that virtually everyone feels too busy. Everyone feels overwhelmed. And everyone feels that they are uniquely overwhelmed. Oh, you don't understand my life. You don't understand that there are so many things that are pulling me away. And there's this and there's that and there's my daughter getting married and all these different things that are hanging out there. Yet everyone has precisely 168 hours in every week. So here's what happens. Some people get way more done in that 168 hours of their life. I've come to learn that life is a process of choices, one after another. It's how you make those choices that depend where you're going to end up, both in business and life and happiness and all those different areas. And the challenge is that because your choices create your future, many of us just don't make choices well. Some people are making choices that you are not. And I totally accept that some of them are making choices that sacrifice things that you don't want to. But many of them are not making those, quote, bad choices. I define a bad choices, things that you truly value that they're choosing not to do in their lives. But I believe that you can choose to do the things that create success in your life and to stop doing the things that don't contribute. So I'm going to give some examples of a few of those in a couple of minutes that I really think you should ponder. How often do I make that choice to do this thing, and that's costing me from being able to create the business that I want? Habit number 2. Not making a firm decision. So there are so many of us who jump on everything that comes around it, or we go research everything that shows up in our email or in ads when we're looking at social media, anything that shows up in our emails, anything that we see others doing that seems to be working, and we say, well, maybe I should do that. And what ends up happening is that let's just imagine that this diamond is sitting 10 feet below the surface. That's your business that you are really wanting to have. Yet what we end up doing is during the process of a year, about twice a week, we go dig a short hole. And then we stop digging in that one and we go dig a different one. And so over the year, we dig about 100 different holes. Each one of those holes gets 6 inches to a foot deep. Instead of just digging one hole to go after it to find that diamond that's at 6 feet down under the ground. You're probably not going to get to that diamond if you're digging 100 different holes during the year. You've got to stick to digging one hole. Recognize in this process that the reason why we dig so many holes is we keep getting talked into the fact that there's easy money out there. Well, guess what? There is no easy money out there. There is no way to just have an instant, highly profitable, amazing business. It just doesn't happen. If it happens for a short period of time, it's going to go away. There is no easy money. Just accept that and go dig a hole. Choose something. Now, here's the thing. Say, this is what I do. This is all that I do. I'm not going to worry about all those other things. I'm going to unsubscribe from all those other things. I'm not going to pay attention to those ads. I'm not going to click on anything. I am going to do this hole. That's what I'm going to be working on. And by the way, that hole that you're digging, that thing that your activity that you're digging to dig that hole, it doesn't have to be a perfect choice. And it may not even be your passion choice. I hate the concept of do what you're passionate about, because the problem is that there are very many things that you're passionate about that are simply bad business choices. I know you want to do something that you love. We all do. But the vast majority of us cannot do something that we're incredibly passionate about because it simply won't make money. So carve out something that will do well for you. Go work on that so that you're bringing in money so that you can go do the things that you're passionate about, because now you're bringing in the money with this thing, so you've got more time to do the thing that you're passionate about. My suggestion is start digging a hole. Choose, this is what I do. This is all that I'm going to do, and only do that for 6 to 12 months. Then reevaluate whether or not you want to move on to something else. During that period of time, if you get an amazing idea that you think you may want to do, take a book, write it down, put it up on your shelf. And at the end of 6 to 12 months, if you decide that the hole you've been digging is no longer where you want to go, pull that book off the shelf and look through those ideas and decide which one's next. But in the meantime, you're putting those new ideas up on the shelf, not spending time doing them, researching them, buying courses about them, buying coaching programs about them. Just go dig that one big hole so that you can get to your diamond that's 6 feet underground. Okay, this third one, some of you are going to think this is really odd to have in this list, but it needs to be here, because a third habit that many people have is that they take all of their profits, all of their earnings off the table. Here's what I mean by that. A lot of people will go out and start a business and they maybe get some success and they get $1,000 and they say, great, I'm going to take that $1,000, I'm going to pay my rent with it. That's actually the last thing you should be doing when you're just starting a business. You should be taking some you should take some of those earnings that you bring in and use them on marketing. So you don't just take it all and go pay your rent. You take a large chunk of it and you use that to reinvest in the marketing and other aspects of your business so that you can grow your business. Most businesses suffer because they're underfunded, because you keep taking the money off the table and paying your rent with them or whatever. I actually recommend that when you're just getting started, 80 to 90% of every dollar that you make gets turned back into the business, so that you have the funding you need to be able to do what you're doing. Now, by the way, I'm assuming you're bootstrapping here, not bringing in a bunch of money from the outside. That's an entirely different equation, which in most cases, I do not recommend. And then, so at first you're taking 80 to 90% of everything you earn and reinvesting in the business. And then later on, maybe you get to 20 to 50% is what you're investing in the business. But this is when you're bringing in like substantial, like 6-7 figures. Then you start doing that. Prior to that, you're pouring almost everything you make back into the business. Because here's the thing, the right marketing beats sweat equity every time. The right advertising, the right videos, the right spending your money to get things out into social media, those kinds of things beat sweat equity every time. One other key thing that you need to be focusing on as you're reinvesting that thing is that you need to be spending money on things like your knowledge and skills so that you are perfecting those and increasing your ability to produce. Sometimes that ability to produce comes because you hire somebody else who has that ability. Sometimes it's your personal knowledge and skills so that you have the ability. When you're just getting started, I don't recommend you hire a bunch of people. I recommend you focus on getting your knowledge and skills up so that you can do what you've got to do. And so it may be some courses, it may be some coaching to help you do that, but you need to have that as part of it in that process. Number 4, bad habit. letting emotions control your investment in the business. This is both monetary and, more importantly, your time. So here's the thing. Nobody succeeds right out of the gate. You will fail, especially right at the beginning when you don't know what you're doing and when you don't have a very big list and you don't have very good marketing and all those kinds of things. You will fail right out of the gate. And so what ends up happening is 75% of everything you're going to do isn't going to work, especially right out of the gate, but you need to keep going. The problem that a lot of people have is those failures come and they say, oh, this isn't working. I need to go dig another hole. And that's where you get 100 different holes dug during the year. Yet the thing that we do is we learn from those mistakes. And that learning, if you're constantly jumping to something else, you never get good at anything. You never build the marketing. You never develop the list. You never develop the product portfolio. You never do all the things that are necessary to succeed. Number 5. So sorry. Trying to recover from this cold. Is thinking that you can get there to that successful business without sacrifice. Greatness always requires sacrifice. One of the key things that shows up this way is this concept of believing in the balanced life. When you're just getting started in your business, you are not going to have a balanced life. You have to cut some things out of your life in order to build the business that you need so that you can succeed. You cannot do that without cutting some things. You've got to give up some things in your life. Now, my recommendation is that you intentionally go through the process of figuring out what you're going to give up, because most people immediately start giving up the things that are most important to them. So they give up time with family. They give up exercise. They give up sleep. My recommendation is that you pick those things to give up that are least important to you in both the short and long term. So most people could just sacrifice a few of the leisure activities and the time that they spend doing those and build a business just with that sacrifice. That's the only thing you have to sacrifice, is those things. You may have to actually reduce some of your lifestyle requirements to do this. So let me be clear. Most people spend way too much time in leisure activities, especially in the United States. A lot of people, secondarily, live at such a high level of required income every month that alone is hurting their ability to create a business. So let's say, for example, you've got a nice apartment, a nice car, and you go on a nice vacation twice a year. Well, the money that you spend for those three things can be the money that funds your business for a year. So maybe you need to go live in a downgraded apartment. Maybe you need to sell your car and Uber instead. Maybe you need to sell your car and buy a junker that you can drive around in if you need that. Maybe you need to say, I am going to cut my vacation this year and do a staycation or whatever so that I can use that money. I'm going to sacrifice that to get something more important that I want in the long term. So I recommend you preserve your family, the time and the effort that you spend on your family, that you preserve your physical health. You're going to need to exercise. You're going to need to meditate. I recommend you preserve your spiritual health. You got to be doing something spiritual to make sure that you're whole in your soul in that process. I recommend some things you can sacrifice. Most of us spend hours every day doom scrolling on social media, just seeing what's going on out there. If you've got the habit of turning to social media or email every time something hard comes up, that's something you ought to just go on a social media fast and say, I no longer do that. Many of us could sacrifice many of the recreational activities that we have. I've mentioned this before, but a lot of us spend a lot of time trying to recover because we're stressed out, recover because we're tired, yet most of those activities don't actually recreate your life. They just are recreation. So a great example, TV doesn't do a lot for you. Another one, a great one that'll give you the time to be able to do what you need to do is eating out. Not only does it cost you a ton of money every time you eat out, but it also takes time. Have you ever noticed that if you go to a restaurant, you're not walking out of there for an hour and a half? What if you just made something quick, ate it, and had that extra hour? So you make it and you eat it in half an hour, and then you got an extra hour in your day every single meal that you would have gone out to spend building your business. I know it's hard. You got to cook. You got to figure out what you're going to eat. But that's a sacrifice that's well worth. Many of us need to sacrifice some of our friends. So some of our friends, if they are forcing us into recreational activities that don't recreate us, sitting at a bar, drinking, talking to your friends is a great example of that, then we probably ought to dump them, because by dumping them, we also dump the time that we were spending doing those activities. In addition, many of those friends actually want you to stay where you are. In other words, they are going to sabotage your business building consistently. And that's not the people you want. You need to focus on the people who build your dream, not the people who attack it. So my suggestion to you is you intentionally ask yourself some questions. What's most important to you in your life? How important is this business idea that you want? Next, what's your dream of having that worth to you? Not just your business, but as I do this analysis, I got 3 things that are most important to me in my life. All right, what is it worth to me to succeed in those 3 things? Maybe one's a business, one's my family, one's my spiritual life. Okay, so those 3 things, what's worth it to sacrifice elsewhere? All right, I'm going to have to sacrifice to make each one of those 3 things. I'm going to cut this, I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to limit this to 10 minutes a day. Be intentional about that process. And here's what's happened. A lot of people say, but I don't want to. Well, guess what? If you do it, someday it will be worth it. Right now, it seems like a sacrifice, but someday when you are able then to have the time and the money to do all those things that you really would like to do, you'll be thrilled that you made those intentional choices right now. What's your thoughts? Hard medicine, I realize. Put them in the comments. Let me know. This is Don Crowther saying, just go do this stuff.